Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Follow Your Heart podcast. Today we have another amazing guest and dear soul sister, Holly Mitchell. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Thank you, Bekah. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so excited to share you with the world. You guys, buckle up. I'm really excited for what's about to come. I'm going to get into a longer introduction. I wanted to do a grounding meditation just to get all of us connected in this present moment of this container we're creating together for all of you listeners and for Holly and I. But I just want to say what I told Holly before, and really what I feel is just the magic and enthusiasm and insight she brings is like, you will literally be like, am I listening to the female version of Tony Robbins right now? So get ready, guys, for an amazing episode, and you'll definitely want to listen all the way through. I'm excited to share more about Holly once we do the grounding. But before we get into introductions, I invite you guys, if you are even just driving, you can just take a couple deep breaths if you're listening, although most of you guys are probably at home listening to this. Or if you're cooking, whatever, just take a moment to just be still. And if you're sitting down or listening to this in your bed, whatever, just sit down or stand up with your palms facing up, maybe in receiving mode. Just getting in tune with this present moment. And I invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feeling into your body in this moment here in the present, as we're all collectively brought here together for this divine transmission and co-creation. Even if you're listening to this, you are part of this creation together. This message is for you. It's for Holly. It's for me. It's for all of us to guide us on our journeys, individually and together. I invite you to take just another deep breath in and out. Feeling into all of the beauty around us, the health in our body, maybe your heart beating, maybe your fingers tingling, wiggling your toes, feeling the mobility in your hands, this beautiful body you're gifted, and the soul and the spirit that you carry with you. And I call forward my higher self and my angels, and I invite my ego to take a back seat so that way we can transmit what needs to be shared with all of you listening through this call and this podcast. And if Holly's spirit and guides would like to come in, I invite them if they feel so pleased, and for her ego to also take a rest in a back seat, so we can provide you with information of the highest good for all involved. And I invite you to take one more deep breath in and exhale. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes if they're closed.
Thank you for leading us in that, Bekah.
You're welcome. Thank you for being a part of that. Now it's always like a beautiful, like, wow, I just went from like super high energy to super mellow. With that, let's share. Who is Holly Mitchell? Can you feel whatever you're feeling called to share to answer that question?
When you were asking my spirit guides to show up, I saw an alligator.
Oh, super interesting.
And I grew up in Florida, so that makes a ton of sense.
Okay, yes. What does alligator mean to you? What does it represent?
For me, it's the alligator is this ancient being, right? This reptilian before early evolution, right? This deep wisdom and knowing, and she is fiercely protective and she is underwater, right? She's like in the unconscious zone, swimming around, and she can see through the water, and she's got this expansive vision. And I don't know if you knew this, but alligators, so they lay eggs, and they actually they help their babies hatch out of the egg. They like crack the little eggs open with their teeth when the babies are trying to get out. And they're the only animal that does this, but they like help other people hatch.
Wow.
And so I'm like, maybe we're all helping each other hatch right now.
Yes.
Because we're inside of this egg in this like crazy time in the world right now. We're all inside of our eggs, and we need each other because we can't do it on our own. We're not strong enough. We need someone from the outside to just like poke a couple of those extra little holes so that we can see the light and crawl through. And I think that's what we do for each other.
I'm gonna cry because it's such a beautiful analogy. I love that. And it's one of those things where you can look at an alligator and say, oh, an alligator, like that's just like scary or scaly and not pretty and majestic. And that's kind of the whole perspective of where we are right now as like a species, as a planet. It's like, it may look like scary, but look at that beauty that's coming through is like the support. And wow, I love that. So thank you, Miss Alligator. Miss Florida Alligator, that's a new one, for coming through today to share. And this totally ties into what we were talking about right before we started recording. I asked Holly what message she wanted to share. And of course, it would all synchronistically come to that point where you say your spirit guide's an alligator. So even before sharing what you do, I'd like for you to share really what you answered to my question of what you wanted to communicate on this podcast episode.
Thanks, Bekah. I was asking myself the same question this morning, and I said, if I could go back to the moment where I left my job and started my own business, what would I tell myself? And what came up for me was, rugged individualism will crush you like a bug under the weight of its extreme loneliness. And I think that in our culture, we have this romantic view of what it means to be an entrepreneur, right? It's like you're standing like a superhero with your hands on your hips and you're facing the wind, and it's me against the world with this singular vision, and I'm gonna do it. Mm-hmm. And in reality, you will buckle if that's what you think the path holds for you. Your spirit will be absolutely crushed.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it.
I've been there. I've been there. 5 months in, I was lying on the floor of my bedroom staring up at the ceiling, and I had no money to pay the next month's credit card bill. And I had been working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. I mean, I was standing in the face of the wind, right? Like I was there, I was like, I'm gonna do this thing. And then I couldn't pay my bills. And I was like, how did this happen? What am I going to do? And I had to take a loan to get through the next couple of months. And then I figured it out. But it wasn't on my own. That's for damn sure. I needed something beyond me in order to get me to the next level. And I think it was that moment of extreme humility of like, I can't fix, do, control, figure out everything. I just can't. And I don't have to be. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't it wonderful that there is so much support and so many resources that exist beyond myself to help me.
Yeah. 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 But we have to have the humility, like you're saying, in order to ask. Yeah.
Yes. And that's when things really started to change for me and for my business. When I when I felt the humility and then the confidence and courage at the same time to ask for help.
Yes, the ultimate paradox. Yeah, that's what harmony is, between finding the balance between the two. Yeah, and from there, that's like the magic, where the magic happens, is having the confidence and asking for help, and really realizing it's actually the greatest gift you can give someone, is to ask for help.
Oh my gosh, people love to help.
Yeah, we all do.
They want to help you. You're giving a gift to someone else when you ask for their help.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a game changer for me.
Me too. It was a hard one for me because I was Miss Independent too. Like, I could do this myself and I don't need anyone's help, like in relationships, with family, with work. And then it was just like, oh, like I can't do this anymore. For me, it was just burnout, stress. Like, yeah. So I'm curious to hear, one, not curious to hear, I'd like for you to share what you do now with your business, and then I'd like to, of course, hear the story. We all want to know, like, okay, you're laying on the floor, you have no debt. Okay, well, what was the story? How did you get there?
So I am a
So
speaker.
what do you do now, Holly?
I'm a speaker, coach, and hypnotist for dentists. I teach dentists and their teams how to increase case acceptance using hypnotic language patterns. So all of my clients are dentists, and I'm a life coach, business coach, and I work with them and their teams to grow their practice, and primarily through influencing through sales, which is something I know that you're really great at. And we've jammed on a lot on sales strategies and tips and tricks, how to grow your business from a sales marketing perspective. But I think it's, sales is a spiritual practice, in my opinion. And that's like, people are like, crazy. Wait, what? Sales is spiritual? I thought sales is like slimy. Sales is the alligator, right? It's like slimy and reptilian. But if you have a gift that the world needs, you are robbing the world of that gift if you do not embrace a fully aligned sales strategy in alignment with who you are and what you want to give to the world. Sales is spiritual.
I so agree. Totally. Yeah. And okay, I know now. I'm like, okay, let's go right into that, but we'll talk about that, because I think this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs and women and people that are spiritual and entrepreneurs are like, okay, but how you say that, but how do I do it? All I know is the slimy, and I don't like that. And you've inspired me so much through your different practices, hypnosis, NLP, all of your experience. Like, you've taught me so much about sales, and I'm just blown away by the saleswoman you are, but also the way you approach it. It was just so much authenticity and heart and love. But before we get into that, I'd love to hear your journey. Like, okay, well, one, like, you have other experiences in the back before you got into supporting dentists and being a coach. So what were you doing before that?
Well, let's go back to how I got my first job in the world of teeth. And they call me the Tony Robbins of teeth. So I think it's funny that you mentioned Tony Robbins in the beginning.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I'm known as the Tony Robbins of teeth. So my first job out of college came out of a moment of extreme humility and adversity. And isn't it funny how your shit becomes your fertilizer?
Yep.
Those moments of adversity have always been for me just quantum leaping growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right after college, I went to school to become an actress. That's why I moved to New York in the first place from Florida. And I was 6 months out with a lot of debt and broke, and found myself homeless, sleeping on couches, trying to work as an actor. And I was like, well, this isn't what I dreamed of. This doesn't look anything like I thought. And I need to pivot. I need to figure something else out, because this is just killing me. It's not sustainable. And I was really unhappy and really unhealthy at the time. And so I decided I was going to make a career change, and I thought I might be a dentist. And a friend of mine said, why don't you go work in a dental office and see if you like it before you go back to school? And I thought, that was good advice, right? So I called up an office. I called up a bunch of offices, and nobody wanted to meet with me because I had absolutely no experience. But I convinced one to meet with me, and I said, look, I'll work for you for free. Just train me to do whatever you want, and then you can start paying me. And so I worked for free for 2 weeks as a front desk receptionist. And then the doctor called me into his office, and he said, I really want to grow my office, because it was teeny tiny back then. It had 2 chairs and 5 employees, little operation. He said, I need to see a lot more new patients. I need to have a marketing director. What do you know about marketing? And I said, absolutely nothing. Yet. So he made me the marketing director, and we doubled in size in the first year. And
wow.
Yeah, I learned a lot about sales and marketing, everything I could get my hands on at the time. And we just kept growing and growing. And fast forward 9 years later, that group of 5 employees had become 52 with multiple locations, and I became the CEO of that same group.
Whew.
And along the way, I started speaking and telling this crazy story of meteoric growth, started coaching dentists around the country to help grow and scale their practices. And so that sounds like the 2 full-time jobs, and it was.
Yep.
So when you said the words burnout, I was like, oh, my old best friend. I wonder how she's doing. I should drop her a postcard. And that is how I found my breakdown breakthrough to NLP and hypnosis, because I found myself at the age of 29 with chronic health problems due to depression and anxiety. And I needed to change my brain. And I took 3 weeks off of work and enrolled in an NLP training. And I learned how to rewire my own brain so that I could be less stressed. And then all I wanted to do was teach it to other people, because it blew my freaking mind that I could feel the way that I wanted to feel anytime that I wanted to, if I just practiced how to have the right mindset and the habits of feeling good and feeling like my best self and regulating my own nervous system. Changed everything for me.
Yeah. Wow. And what guided you to NLP? Why was that the thing that drew you in for like your breakthrough?
Well, it was Tony Robbins.
Oh, really?
It was. I used to watch those Tony Robbins infomercials when I was a kid, like the late night ones on my grandmother's TV.
Wow.
And one of the things that I learned from Tony Robbins really early on, which goes back to our asking for help, was modeling. And Tony Robbins talks about modeling and says that if there's something that you want to do, there is somebody out there who's an expert in it, and they've already done it. So just ask them if they would be willing to share some of their strategies and resources with you, and you can model excellence and you can learn it so much faster. So when I was young and growing this dental group, young, I'm still young, when I was younger, right? And I was trying to figure out how to market dental practices and how to grow them and how to improve operations. I would go to these dental conferences and I would just find a practice that was more successful than mine. And I would walk up to them and I would say, "Can I come and visit you?" And they were like, "Sure." So I would travel all around the country and go visit successful dental practices and just learn from them and take notes.
Gosh, yes.
Just ask for help. People love to share.
Yeah. Genius.
It worked. And we grew a lot faster that way than me trying to reinvent the wheel or figure it out all on my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I needed that message. Thank you. And I'm sure someone else listening is like, okay. Yeah.
Here's the thing. The speed at which you grow is relative to the quality of requests that you are willing to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ask better questions and get better answers.
Yeah. And with what I hear from that too is, like you said, like the speed of the questions is, I notice people have good questions, but they're too afraid to ask them because they think that they're going to be overwhelmed and can't handle it themselves, which goes back to asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask yourself, what are the requests that I need to make every day of yourself, of your network, of your clients, of the people that you don't even know yet, of your prospects, of the universe? What are you asking for?
Yeah.
Because if you're not asking for much, not much is going to show up, right? They're like, "Oh, she's good. We'll just leave her alone."
Yep. I have a story. I don't want to rob this theme, but this came up for me, and it's it's all of these little moments where we have potential to ask for what we want. And there's a moment of fear, which usually is coming from like the ego, if you want to call it that will be rejected, or we'll get a no, which is rejection, which goes back to sales, right? The biggest fear of sales is getting rejected and getting that no. And there's so many different ways this played out. Like I have done thousands of meetings and sales calls and cold calls and got plenty of no's in my life. And yet when it comes to my intimate relationships, I am so afraid of getting rejected by a man. So in all of my past relationships, I have always, for the most part, let the guy come to me to make the first move. If I see interest in them, I'm going to wait. Even though I desire something from them. So why is it so bad for me to request or ask or see? So with me, I was traveling, obviously this just happened. So I came out to Costa Rica and then ended up in Nicaragua by the means of the universe guiding me here. It wasn't planned. And I was not planning on being like in a relationship or anything like that. And I landed in this little spiritual community and have no idea why I'm here, but I just know I'm guided and I trust that. And the first day I see this really cute guy arrive the same day I arrived. And I was like, oh, he's really cute, but he seemed really busy and he's been here before. He's like, doing his own thing. But then there's all of these other men that have expressed interest in me. And I was like, this is weird because usually I don't have that many guys hitting on me at once. Like, not to like brag, but it was just like one of those things where it's like, whoa, like this isn't the one I want. And 2 weeks went by and I never said what I wanted. I thought about it. I was looking at him, when you like have a crush on someone, you're like, he's cute. What is he doing? Where is he at? But not requesting it. And after 2 weeks, after many men had asked to spend time with me and to cuddle with me, all these things, and I said no, which was scary because that's people pleasing. And finally, I went over to him. I sat next to him and I said, hey, this is really scary for me to say, but I'm interested in you and I find you attractive and I'd like to get to know you. You don't have to answer right now, but I wanted to share that with you. And that was like the moment where literally my life has changed completely since then. Like he's my boyfriend now, 5 weeks later. And it's been like the most amazing journey of my life. So many things have manifested from me asking for what I want. And that was so scary, but amazing. Yeah.
It's scary. It is scary because it requires you to have trust that the impulse to ask, right? The impulse and the desire to trust that is a good one, right?
Yes.
To really be able to listen and trust yourself, and then to have complete certainty that and gratitude for whatever comes. If it's not this, there's something better, right? There's something else. Like the impulse to ask is good because it might not be right here, but there is something else that is coming shortly thereafter that might be in a different form. And I'm okay with that too. So you don't have that sense of neediness or attachment to the outcome. And it's more like, I wonder if what's possible here. Let me explore.
Yeah. Absolutely. I so believe that.
You know what I found actually in those moments in sales where you make a request and someone has to say no to you, it is so awkward for them that they actually feel bad about saying no to you. And that's really great leverage for you, because you could use that opportunity in sales to make a second request, a different request, because they want to restore the equilibrium. Because now they owe you one.
What's an example of that?
So I had a client that, or a potential client that I made a proposal to, and he said, financially, it's just not possible for me right now. And I said, I totally understand. Is there anyone you could think of right now that's having a similar challenge and they really want to grow their practice and that I might be able to help them? And he thought about it and he's like, yeah, I can think of 2 people. I'm like, that's awesome. Would you be willing to connect us? I really appreciate it. And he went ahead and did. So I turned the no, I'm not going to enroll with you, into 2 referrals of qualified leads, because I was willing to make a second request. And he felt great about that.
Yeah.
He felt great because he got to restore the balance. And now, like, we're still good. And at some point he'll be able to come back and say, okay, I'm ready now.
Yeah. And almost it allowed him to have almost like a connection, energetic exchange with you. So that way it's not a no. He doesn't feel guilty about it. He did something for you, and he's more likely to come back as a client. And in the meantime, you're serving his friends, potentially.
Yeah.
And he's going to hear the great feedback. It's just like the energetic balance between the giving and receiving. And that only happens with being able to have a request and another request. Oh, it's such a good example.
I love the story that you shared, because you had to have so much trust in yourself in that moment. What do you think gave you the courage to really just go out there and be okay if there was rejection?
Multiple things. The first thing is I've been, the last 3 years working on my own self-love journey of really feeling whole and complete without needing anyone. And that was one thing. The other thing was the day prior, or the day of, I had taken a radical honesty workshop. So that was powerful. He was not in that workshop, but we were practicing being totally transparent and honest. And that was an example. 2 men had expressed, hey, I find you interesting, beautiful, whatever, in that circle. And all I wanted to do was say that to my now boyfriend. And it's like, of course, if they can do it and be totally transparent. And I so felt connected to them and appreciative that people could be that honest to me, that I want to reciprocate that. So 2 of those things combined, plus I'm sure many other little things along the way.
I love that idea of radical honesty, because isn't that what we're all looking for, is just transparency?
Yeah. And that's sales at the same time as well.
It is, because trust is built from transparency and authenticity, right? The authentic vibe of you bringing your presence to the conversation, right? Without neediness. And this is one of the things I teach dentists and sales is before you go in to meet with a patient or a prospect in the context of sales, to just do a loving kindness meditation, to send yourself all the good vibes in the world. Send those good vibes out to somebody that you love, somebody you don't even know very well, right? Like, with your doorman or somebody who works at the local market, like just send them all those good vibes. And then think of somebody who loves you and receive all of those good vibes, and then give them to your patient and just see them in your mind having the healthiest, most confident smile. This is what I would say to my dentists, right? See them happy and whole. See what that new smile does for their life, how it gives them more confidence, and how that confidence is going to allow them to take more risks and really go after their dreams. See how helping them get healthier is going to help them live longer to be with the people that they love. See them holding their great grandbabies in their arms because you help them get healthier. And if you walk into the room and do a sales conversation or a case presentation in that state, people feel you. They feel that you're coming from a genuine, caring place. And I think that's all sales is that transfer of energy. It's that transfer of trust. And it starts with generating it inside of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, does anyone else feel like crying after listening to that? I feel so teary-eyed and my heart is going to explode with love, because I feel when you say that, it's not just a salesy scheme. That is from the heart. And if you can teach a dentist to do that in sales, anyone can operate from that lens, from that vibration of love. Imagine if every company, every leader, every business would operate from that of love. What would the world look like?
Radical honesty of the heart.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I love that. It's a good one.
I was thinking about your story and how it had a happy ending with not being rejected.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I experienced a rejection in love a few months ago. And I was seeing this man, and he was incredible, right, in every way. And honestly, he raised the bar for me of what I wanted in a relationship, because he just showed up in such kindness and consideration, and the connection was really deep. Yeah. And I was like, wow. I told my friend, like, I feel like I flew first class and I don't want to go back to college after dating him. And at the same time, we only dated for a short amount of time, and he was seeing other women, and I knew that there was radical honesty about that. And he decided that he was going to pursue a serious relationship with another woman. Mm-hmm. And so he called to tell me, he called to give me that rejection blow, right? Mm-hmm. And so he gets on the phone with me and he tells me, I think you're amazing, and I really enjoyed our time together, and I'm just not the kind of person that can pursue a relationship seriously while I've got multiple things going on. I really want to invest my time and energy in this other relationship, and so I'm going to have to end things, and I'm really sorry. And so of course I say, oh, can I put you on hold for a second? So I put him on hold, and I'm like this. And then I blow my nose. And then I get back on the phone. And I said, I need to tell you something. I need to tell you how grateful I am for the time that we spent together, because you treated me the way that I want to be treated, even now. Mm-hmm. Even now in this moment that's hard for me, you're treating me with such consideration and respect. And it reminds me of what I'm worth. And I think that you're an incredible man. And she's a very lucky woman. And then, he was like, oh my God, like, like
I need to go on hold now.
I need to go on hold now. And that's what it is. That's what it is. It's like, I have the certainty that something better is coming, right? And that maybe this is the preheat, right? He was my the first pancake in the batch, right? And
yes.
And then the perfect pancake is right around the corner. There was something in there with him, even though it was short, that gate got me closer to what I'm really looking for. And that's such a win. And being able to be unattached to and unresentful of his choice allowed me to attract what I'm attracting now, which is I'm falling in love in the time of quarantine.
Yes, next two of us.
Yes, and I didn't know at the time that it was only, it was less than 6 months away that I got to have my training wheels, right, of the kind of love I was looking for. And now I get to take the training wheels off, and he provided that for me.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, and for your vulnerability and opening your heart, because there's so many beautiful love stories and happy endings. But if I were to rewind 6 months prior to my love story, same thing. I had rejection, a breakup, and all these other things happen. And it's trusting, that like that person you can be so grateful for, to bring you to the other person that's waiting for you on the other side of that, which once again ties back to, I love connecting sales to relationships, because it's so easy to connect being an intimate partner with sales. And what I've seen so many times is when people get one potential really good lead, they want to hold on, like this is the best it's going to get. And then they're focusing all of their energy on that one prospect and making sure that they say we retract potential prospect as a client. And in that situation, it's really relative to like the releasing and not having expectations when it comes to sales, and trusting that whoever is brought to you is either there for a lesson or something else, or a client. And not everyone has to be your client.
The word faith comes to mind. To have complete certainty in the uncertainty.
Yeah.
And there's so much trust in yourself in those moments. And I think that's what business is. Going on your own can be an act of self-love. Right? It's such an act of self-love. And you and I were talking before, like, does it have to be hard? Yeah, it's gonna be hard. Maybe, right? In some ways, and in some ways it's the hardness that makes it so beautiful, right? Because what's better, like climbing the mountain yourself, or having someone take you in a helicopter to the top? Like, just the rewarding feeling of those peaks, there's nothing more fulfilling, I think, especially when your business is a gift from your soul of your
Yeah.
purpose, right? And you get to see it outside of you. It's hard because 50% of a lot of people think, oh, I just have to do the work. But actually what entrepreneurialism is, you deliver the work. That's 50% of the time. And then 50% of the time is sales and marketing of that work. And then 50% of the time is actually building your business. And yes, that's 150%.
Yeah, like right.
Yes, because you're going to work probably 50% more than you were working before. And it is 100% more worth it.
Yes.
When it's an expression of your soul.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but so is having a baby. Right? And amazingly fulfilling and rewarding for people. You know, I don't know, but I imagine that perhaps that's the point. Perhaps it's the contractions that create life. We have to go through the birth canal, right? It's dark, it's contracting, it's scary, and that's what creates life.
Yes. And I'd love to add to that there is the resistance that makes it feel hard. No matter what, yes, there's going to be the challenge and the difficulty, but it's like, are you going to swim against the current or ride the wave and let it flow? You're still on that wave and you don't know where it's going to lead you, and you may crash. But if you're one having faith, again, the uncertainty, and trusting and not resisting and flailing everywhere, it'll actually be a fun ride. And so even with birth, you know, like I've learned a lot of women that have practiced breath work and breathing and going through the contractions versus like, tension, clenching, this is painful, that the process is much more fluid. So I think we also have the choice to work on our resistance, which I'd love to add between the 150%. There's another 50% of the time that's working on ourselves.
Yeah.
We were just talking about, you know, our working out, our eating, our self-discipline, working on our bodies. And I truly believe that that's a reflection of our business, and our business is that the stuff that we feel like is separate is really a part of it. That other hard work we're doing to make sure that we're the best version of ourselves is also the work in the business.
It's the vessel.
Yeah.
It's the vessel to hold all of the work, right?
Yeah.
And it's the vessel from which those questions, the requests that you need to be making, that will come up for you, right?
Yeah.
When you create that space to ask, what do I need to ask right now? What requests do I need to be making?
Yeah.
And the state in which you're in is going to determine the quality of those questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Truly. Yeah, we have some amazing hitters or main points coming across on this podcast episode. So I love that we're just going with the flow and seeing what comes through. I know you have a call coming up, so I want to wrap things up in the next 5 to 10 minutes before your call.
Sure.
But there is something that I wanted to share because I've shared this offline, and I hope you're okay with this. I didn't say who before, but I said a friend did something I've never heard of done before in this manner, and you really inspired me a couple months ago, and that was when you started really focusing on your group coaching and not your one-on-one consulting for dentists. So if you could possibly kind of just reiterate, share briefly what you created, and like I'd love to use that story as some inspiration.
Sure. You cut out for just a second, so just wanted to double back. So just sharing about the mastermind program that I created.
Yes, and how that went.
In the beginning, I was doing a lot of one-on-one, and I was going from office to office. And that's what the market was willing to pay for at the time, and what I thought I needed to do. And it was exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
It was exhausting being in Brooklyn in the morning and Queens midday and the Bronx in the evening and Manhattan, right? Like I was running myself ragged because I thought that's what I needed to do to survive. And so I had this vision of a location independent business and finding a way to do group coaching, which isn't really common, to be honest, in my industry. A lot of it is one-on-one or seminar based, but not group community coaching. But I felt really strongly that a community was necessary, that people would learn more in a community because they were sharing insights, resources. They were feeling that I am not alone. They would have people that they could use as mirrors, as mentors, and challenge each other, right? To raise the bar. And that peer-to-peer accountability, statistics show, is much more effective than hierarchical or advisor, advisee type of accountability. And so I had a vision of creating a community where people were collaborating and being coached by me, and that was scalable and location independent business. And that's actually how I ended up on the floor, because I started to tell my clients, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to come in person to work with you. I'm creating a virtual program. And they were like, no, that's not what we want. Mm-hmm. And I had to have the courage to say, I'm sorry, that's not what I'm available for. And there's this Japanese word called ikigai. And it's the if you imagine these circles between what you love to do, you're passionate about, right? Your skill set, what you're really good at, what the world needs, and what the market is willing to pay for. Mm-hmm. And at the center of those four circles is your zone of genius, your ikigai. And that is what will make your business explode. And I believed that what I was building, a mastermind community of dentists, this group coaching program where they would meet with me every week. And then I would meet with their team leaders every month and create this leadership development program on top of us working on their business in a group, was that center of the circle. And it took so much courage for me to figure out how to market that, right? And then once I saw it so clearly in my mind, I knew I had to make the request. And so I took my phone out, and this was in January, and I got all the dentists in my phone. And I texted each one of them, and I said, Happy New Year. I have something that might be relevant to your business this year. Can I have 15 minutes of your time? And most of them messaged me back and said yes. And so I started getting on calls and telling them about this mastermind program, which I hadn't even built yet. I didn't even have a website for it or a PDF, right? I didn't have anything. Yes. I just knew how much I was going to charge for it. And I got on the phone with them, and I listened to how their year went, and I asked them what they wanted to accomplish this year. And I said, I'd love to support you. I've got a new program. It's launching next month. It's my mastermind program. This is the fee for the program. I'd love to have you be a part of it. What do you say, right? And I did more revenue in that month than I had done in the previous 6 months, and exploded my business. Mm-hmm. but I made the request, and I figured out that ikigai.
Mm. Yeah. It's so powerful. Even saying it, hearing that again, it's amazing when, yeah, making that request and not worrying about all the other steps, but the step one, not having it all perfectly planned out and just being vulnerable and putting yourself out there.
And I did it with absolute certainty and love, right?
Yeah.
I got on the call and I saw it in my mind and I knew how it would help them, and I listened to what they needed and I said, this is going to help you get there.
Yeah.
Right? And they said yes. And I love that before you got on the call with me, you told me to not be afraid to share my success.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I have had a ton of success this year.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the coronavirus, I have been busier than I've ever been, right?
Yeah.
And my business and my brand is growing, and I don't really talk about that because I know that a lot of people are hurting financially, and I always want to be sensitive to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is I can also be a resource to people right now, right, who might not be able to help me, and I've been providing a lot of content and resources for people who would want to engage with me later, and that's awesome. And I want to thank you for telling me not to be afraid to share that I'm having a ton of success right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't always been easy, and my business has definitely shown me the parts of me that still need to heal and to grow, because your business is just a reflection of your inner world. Who you are is right out there in front of your nose for you to be a mirror to you every single day, and it will trigger the crap out of you, and you will also love it and love yourself in a totally different way because it's being reflected back at you.
Just like you're potentially triggering people right now by sharing, being in love and having this unfathomable success, like selling 6 figures in a month, like that's amazing. And it may trigger some, and also you as well, because it's showing what's possible.
Yeah.
And to not make excuses during this time. So you are so welcome, and thank you in exchange for reminding me that it's okay to live in abundance right now, and that it's possible. It's possible at this time of uncertainty that we can create our own magic and make our internal world reflect our external world.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because we're doing it from a heart of service, and leadership is needed right now more than ever. Mm-hmm. And I think especially for women, mm-hmm, we need to see women who can be certain in times of uncertainty of who they are and what they want to share with the world unapologetically, whatever that means for you.
Agreed. So much. That's why we're here for each other. Thank you so much, Holly. I just so appreciate you, and I just love manifestation. I check my phone and I see a PayPal notification. That makes me happy. Don't you love us?
More abundance. Abundance is coming. Yes.
Yes, for all of you. And I just want to wrap up with just a couple quick questions. Number one, what is a affirmation or a mantra that's really been resonating with you right lately, or that you live by?
I'm so happy and grateful that.
That's a cool one. Fill in the blank.
And what I usually will end that phrase with is big game changer goals that I'm working towards.
As if they've already happened.
As if they've already happened.
That's the magic. Yes. Yes.
And that's actually last year I had quite a few of those. I'm so happy and grateful that I ran the New York City Marathon. That happened. I'm so happy and grateful that I have a location independent business. That happened. I'm so happy and grateful that I have a partner who adores me. That happened.
I love you, Holly.
I love you, Bekah.
Wow. Okay, so where can people find you for all of your motivation, inspiration you share with the world?
They can find me, hollyannmitchell.com, ANNE, and with an E, hollyannmitchell.com, or on Instagram at hollyannmitchell.nyc.
Awesome. We'll link it up in the show notes so you guys can just click on that hyperlink on this podcast episode and follow Holly. Yes, she serves dentists, but she has so much inspiring content information that, yeah, it doesn't even matter if you're a dentist or not. You will feel her energy, enthusiasms, and her sales strategies. So follow Holly. And once again, thank you so much for showing up, being your bright, bubbly, inspiring self with all of your feminine power and the biggest heart. So thank you, Holly, for sharing your wisdom.
Bekah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Be well.